had a request from a subscriber to make a video describing a technique. His question was, how can you fill in a field, or can you fill in a field? The traditional technique is to go around and fill in a field. Say this green field, I've got 3 different colors of green. I did 3 rows of dark, 3 or 4 rows of medium, and then filled in the rest in the middle. But these were filled in primarily by going around inside the field. The subscriber wanted to know if we could just make rows going back and forth, because they wanted to avoid any sign of turning corners. I did that, as you see in this field here. I just went to the end of the row and came back to the I guess I'm a right-handed, so to the left side of the field, and then did another row. So I'm going to show how I'm going to do this row by row without going around inside the field to fill it in. So as always, I start off somewhere off to the side, usually about 1 inch away from where I'm going to work. And I'm going to come up inside this stitch there, pull enough to bury the tail, and I'm going to start my stitches. So I'm going to take a stitch here as normal. I'm going to just go down the row just like normal. I got room for 1 more stitch here. Okay. So I've come to the end of that row, and instead of turning the corner and going down here, I'm going to just pick up the side, I guess, and I'm going to lay this down all the way to the back to the original edge. Now my technique is generally using a sharp darning needle is to pick up a little bit of the ball underneath, a little bit of the fabric underneath the stitching, because I prefer to anchor my stitches to that ball. So I use a sharp darning needle to do that. Plenty of folks prefer to use a dull needle and they don't like to anchor their stitches. That's just fine. This is just a different technique, different way of doing it. So I'm going to take this first stitch, but instead of picking up the ball underneath, I'm picking up just a couple fibers from that thread I pulled across. And I like to do this not only because it helps me anchor my stitches, but I think I'll avoid having a lot of dark spots. In this yellow field, for example, you can see there's dark bits of the navy underneath, but I don't think I'm going to have that problem here when I do this, because I'm going to pick up a few fibers, really a very few fibers. You can see just one or two little fibers. And I think that helps also prevent the dark from being seen through. This is my preference, I guess. I don't. I guess I have a little darkness behind that. But another way to address that is to pull just a tiny little fiber or two from the stitch behind. I like to do that as well. All right. Let's rethread my needle here. And I'm back to the right edge of my field. I guess I think I can take one more stitch here. Another thing you could do is you could, when you go into the side wall there, you could go underneath. Go underneath all of that. Or you could maybe pick up a few fibers here and there as you go across. That's another way you could do it. Can you see that? It's a little easier there. I don't think I have a favorite way, either going all the way underneath or skimming the surface or just laying it across the surface. I'm trying different techniques all the time. Pick a little bit of the blue. It's a tough stitch, that one. I got a kitty cat underneath the table here who's tapping my feet at the same time I'm trying to do this. It's a little tickly. Kitty. And I'm almost out of my yarn, so I'm gonna just anchor it. I'm gonna pull that across because I'll have it there for when I come back. And I'll do my dismount here, I guess. And get a new bit of yarn. And start again. Just bury my tail. And I'm ready to continue. I think on that row I pretty much just swallowed up the whole thread inside the stitches. So that's one way you could do it too, I guess. Just seemed to be the right thing to do. Because now it's so close to the stitch that it feels like it works to just take the whole thread in, or I'm just going right over it actually now at this point, it looks like. Well, so there you have it. There's one idea of how you can fill in a field instead of going around inside until you fill it up, to go row by row. Something to try. Thanks. Bye.